Okay. Uh, so Taliesin has explored the topic through visual arts and cultural heritage in Mesmo Sol Outro, a book he created alongside Afro-Brazilian artist Carolina Cerqueira. Um, they let images speak for themselves, drawing parallels between landscapes in Rio de Janeiro, Bahia, Minas Gerais, and Luanda, Angola's capital. It's kind of a photo essay, I would say, that uses all sorts of landscapes and images kind of as a collage, and it's gorgeous artwork. I was struck by the use of portraits, self-portraits, the uses of um, newspapers and writings, and the uses of beautiful landscape that you might not expect to see thinking about Afro-resistance. So, yeah, take it away.
Well, this is the book. This is a digital book. Everyone can download this from the website of a Brazilian bank. That's Itaú. They have a cultural institution that is Itaú Cultural, and they funded this project after a kind of big demand from social movements in Brazil. In 2014, they funded a theater play, and this play were all characters were black and all cast was white, and then they made a black face. They built this poster to call people, to invite people for a like a last rehearsal for the display. And Stephanie Brito, an African Brazilian activist, started to spread this poster saying like, we are in 2014 doing a blackface funded by this bank that has 85% of this money from public sources, like taxes that they don't pay. And then this became a big movement in São Paulo, and then in Minas, and in Rio especially, and then through all the country. And the bank, like the institution of this bank, decided to cancel the play and use the money to fund a series of seminars, talks, meetings, and videos about representation of race, gender, sexuality in Brazilian culture. From these meetings they had during 2015, they decided to build 3 commissions to evaluate the next projects to be funded. And then they made this commission of human rights, women, LGBT, and African and native Brazilian culture. That was an attempt to include all stuff that wasn't included in the calls for application before. And even after this demand and this change and like making this commission, this social movement start to question how they would control the approved projects, like how to make the representation effectively happen. And then they decided to have a kind of quota, but that's not like separating a percentage of funding for this commission, but analyzing all applications, making like this statistic, like how many applicants are women, black, from different regions of Brazil that are not southeast, where all money is concentrated, and all cultural productions, and LGBT, and then they had all this form, and we had to fill it, and then they decided that the result, the approved projects, would reflect the population that applied for funding. And it was a big change in the way they funded projects like more in Bahia, for example, because we just realized that the Bahia is the state that is producing many things, and they are really trying to apply for public fundings. And then they had this change. And our project, I think, was funded because of this wave of interest in displacing the focus of their funding system or process. And this project became this digital book that I made with Carolina. Carolina is here. We're here. And this started in 2015 when Carolina got an award because of her photograph work. She is an African-Brazilian artist. I'm a visual artist too. We started undergrad in visual arts together, and she started this work of painting her family and thinking about the futures and how to paint black skin and brown skin and the curly hairs and all these different anatomy or light effects that is not in the painting class we have in Brazil, that are still Euro-centered. Then she started to find a way to represent this, and she found a professor at the State University of Rio, who is a Jewish Brazilian, studying about her family gaps, like in this history of Jewish people in Brazil. And this professor, artist, Leila Densger, she has this work about memory, photography, and painting that is full of last names, and then she can track her history back and go to Germany and Poland and do all this work. And then Carolina thought, I can do the same. And then she took her two last names from mother and father, this Cerqueira and Correa, and she started to track, like, my father came from this city, and his father and his mother, and then she found out that these two numbers, these two names, came from owners of her ascendants that were slaves in Minas Gerais, working in coffee plantation. And then she just stuck there, and she, like, talking to Leila and talking to me. We are best friends since 2009, and she just said, like, I can't do this memory genealogical tree thing because it's just cut in this entire line, and I cannot find anything after my my grandfather from my father and my great grandmother from my mother, because these are the two people that she could track using photography, like documents. And then she started going to these two small cities. There are like rural areas in Minas Gerais, talking to people around, and then she had this idea of taking portraits of these people, because she was painting portraits, and then taking these pics, these photos, to reproduce in painting, and then use all these images of, like, mixed race people and black people in this region to train her ability to paint skin and brown and black skins and hairs and noses and all this different anatomy that is not in the models we have to paint in fine art schools. Then I was just like this friend following everything. Oh, this is so crazy. This is another world. I couldn't think about that on my own, of course, because I can track all my Portuguese and Italian family. I know exactly where they were before going to Brazil, and all the misery and how they built like some conditions to become middle class people. And I was just following Carolina, doing my academic work. I became an art historian, not working like doing art anymore. And she kept this this way in her studio, and I became a curator. I started organizing exhibitions, and she got this award doing these photographs and mixing, like juxtaposing all images she made in these two villages, using her own nose or hair or like her jaw shape. And then when she found someone with her jaw, she just erased the rest, and then it was a series of 355 photographies of many people from these regions and the city that is our hometown in Juiz de Fora, in Minas. And Carolina got this award in photography. There's like some money to do an individual exhibition, and she was really concerned about how to communicate this idea just showing these images that were in her studio. And I was studying curatorship, that is this task of organizing an exhibition to translate the idea of the artist in a way the audience could understand some idea or unfold ideas from this experience of just looking at the image. And then we start this talk about how to represent these works. And I was, but Carolina, you don't know exactly where your family came from, like the city or exactly wherever you know it's Africa. And then we could start some research about where Brazilian, African Brazilian enslaved people came from, to track this and to find a way to connect and do this work you're doing that is about this lack or this gap there or in other parts of this region. Because if you were born here in Juiz de Fora and your family was there, their descendants can be all around the country, and then we can spread that. You can spread that. Is that? But I cannot do this alone. I was like, okay, I can do it with you as a researcher, just following you and like giving you some idea and some support. And she was really concerned about going to African metropolis alone as a woman, Brazilian, blah blah blah. And I said like, okay, I can go with you.